My name is Peter Parker. I'm pretty sure you know the rest. I saved the city, fell in love, then I saved the city again and again and again. Look, I'm a comic book, a cereal, I did a Christmas album, and a so-so popsicle.
Besides that Christmas album, that comic book is looking pretty darn dope. Anyways, welcome back, true believers and all you spectacular Spidey fans, to another really exciting Spider-Man PS4 related video. Now, even though this particular news doesn't directly relate to the game's content itself, it does involve the game in a really cool way because we are indeed going to receive a standalone comic series of Spider-Man PS4. And as you probably already know, there is a comic book happening right now called Spider-Geddon, which is a crossover event of the multiple Spideys across the Spider-Verse, including the Marvel Spider-Man from Insomniac's universe. But even though Insomniac Spidey is involved within Spider-Geddon, it isn't technically its own comic book series of the character, although that definitely changes today with this awesome post that Bill Roseman had on Twitter a couple hours ago. So Bill Roseman posted on Twitter, March 2019, Marvel's Spider-Man swings into the pages of Marvel Comics. Written by @HopelessDent, art by @Michelle_Bandini, covered by @Clayton_Crane, and variants by @TimSang, @David Nakayama, @SandovalBox, and @Adi_Granov. @Insomniac Games, @Marvel Games, #Spider-Man, and #Spider-Man PS4. And after all those numerous @ and hashtags, there is a wonderful cover art of the first issue of Spider-Man City at War. So as you can already see, it does in fact have the same art style that we saw within the first issue of Spider-Geddon, showing off the universe from Insomniac's game in a really cool way being put into the world of comic books. And besides this extremely exciting news relating to the comic, there is a bit of an update on comicbook.com's website discussing what the comic is going to feature and how many issues are going to be featured for it. So this article states, Marvel's Spider-Man gets official comic spin-off. The Marvel Spider-Man game is getting its own comic series with the characters from the PlayStation 4 exclusive returning to the hero's roots. Marvel announced the new comic series called Marvel Spider-Man City of War on Monday and said the comics would feature the same characters and stories set up in the game that was released in September. And as we already know, the game begins with Peter Parker acting as Spider-Man, a hero who'd been protecting New York City for 8 years at that point while he fought and captured Wilson Fisk, better known as Kingpin. Mr. Negative, Aunt May, Mary Jane Watson, Scorpion, Rhino, and other characters make appearances throughout the game, so they are expected to be seen in the comics as well. The first issue of Marvel's Spider-Man City of War is scheduled to be released in March, Marvel's announcement said, with the comic being written by Dennis Hopeless and art done by Michelle Bandini. Bill Roseman, the executive creative director at Marvel Games, shared a comment on the new comic series and said the team was thrilled to bring the story of Marvel Spider-Man full circle as it becomes a comic series. While creating the game, the writing team's goal was to pay homage to Spider-Man's rich history while also shaking things up to keep players on the edge of their seats, said Roseman. Now we're thrilled to see our game's original story swing full circle and come to life in the pages of this all-new comic series in the mighty Marvel manner. While Marvel Spider-Man players who've beaten the game by now will already know what takes place throughout the story and perhaps on into the game's 3 different DLC chapters, there's still new content said to be included in the comic series. Marvel's announcement promised that there be quote-unquote all new story moments never before seen in the game, as well as bonus behind-the-scenes content that'll be found in the comics. It also said that the debut issue will be the first in a series of new stories from the growing Marvel Gamerverse, as Marvel enters a new Marvel universe in March. Marvel's Spider-Man City of War issue 1 is scheduled to release in March, but no exact release date has been given yet. So for me personally, after seeing that Spider-Man PS4 is indeed going to receive its own unique comic book series, I couldn't be happier with what is going on right now, and I'm just so excited that Marvel is continuing to support Spider-Man PS4 even in the world of comics. The base game's story itself already held an extremely entertaining story, as well as huge gut-wrenching moments that definitely made me emotional when playing through the game the first time. And besides the base game, we already have 2 of 3 DLC chapters for Spider-Man PS4 in which the story is indeed continuing, so it's great that it's going to pursue even further within the realm of Marvel Comics. But like you just saw, the comic is indeed going to release sometime in March, and even though that may seem a bit far off from now, I am just really excited that a comic book series for this amazing game is indeed happening. Although one question I personally have about this comic is, when does it take place within the universe of Spider-Man PS4? And if you didn't already, the DLC chapters for Spider-Man PS4 do take place after the main game story, and the Spider-Geddon comic actually takes place after after the City That Never Sleeps DLC as a whole. And if I did have to personally take a guess as to when the City of War comic will take place, I do believe it will participate after the Spider-Geddon narrative is fully finished. And just like Spider-Geddon, it is confirmed that this comic series will indeed be canon to the overall universe of Spider-Man PS4, so if you do really love this game's world as a whole, I highly recommend that you read this comic once it releases next year. But I know what you're all thinking, if this comic is indeed going to be a continuation of Spider-Man PS4's main game, does this mean that if we are going to receive more info about the game in 2019 with a comic series, are we possibly going to receive DLC of the game in 2019 as well? And if you're wondering why I bring this up, it's because a lot of people have been looking at this one image of Spider-Man PS4's Collector's Edition, looking at the fine print of the lower left-hand corner of this image, assuming that this means we will receive DLC for the game in 2019 as well. And seeing how the line literally states users will receive DLC no later than March 2019, and seeing how this comic does in fact release that same month, you would think that everything would line up, indicating more DLC for the game. Although James Stevenson on Twitter did in fact clear up everything that is regarding this possible claim that we could receive DLC in 2019 by simply saying that just means you get all 3 chapters of the City That Never Sleeps by then, which you will because you're getting the City That Never Sleeps 3rd and final chapter next week. So as we know already, the City That Never Sleeps is going to be the only DLC content that is including story expansion material for the overall game of Spider-Man PS4. And seeing how James reaffirmed that we are going to receive the 3rd and final chapter next week with Silver Lining, I do think that is putting the nail in the coffin, indicating that we will not receive any more story content within next year. Still, there is always the possibility that Insomniac could just keep making more suits and have those be as separate DLC packs of just random costumes that you could buy for the game, but as story material goes, the only thing that we have to look forward to now is the comic coming within March of next year. So even though the overall narrative of Spider-Man PS4 will come to a close once Silver Lining does release on the 21st, I am super excited for this comic and can't wait to see what the story is going to be when reading this series. But anyways guys, that's the news I have for you today, and please let me know all your thoughts in the comments section down below. Are you personally excited for the City of War comic series for Spider-Man PS4, and do you think, given James' tweets, that this is going to be the very last piece of DLC that we do get for Spider-Man PS4 once Silver Lining drops, or do you think they have something in store for next year in 2019? For me, I just love how Insomniac and Marvel continuously add new content for the overall realm of Spider-Man PS4, whether that's for the main game or in the world of comics, but either way, I'm just loving every single second of this. But anyways guys, thank you all so much for watching. Stay spectacular, Spidey fans. Peace out.
So you want to learn to be Spider-Man?
Can you teach me?
Yes, I can.